Okay, fuel saving on petrol, diesels. Alright, most common thing we overlook, we'll get to that in a minute, but well, changing fuel filters and changing air cleaners and changing spark plugs and on turbos, you know, making sure the gap's right. I run about 26 thou on them, which is 40 thou is 1 mil, so it's a bit over half a mil. And you know, you can do all this stuff, and you can't even do the timing anymore on these, which I can do with this. I shim it out actually, the crank angle sensor, that makes a difference. Too close, it picks up too early and won't start. Too far away, won't recognise it, so won't rev. But lately I've been playing with other stuff to get these, you know, cars to go heaps better. And as you know, things get older, they wear out. And we change ignition leads on a petrol car and whatever have you. But the biggest thing that cops are real hiding in these cars, what is overlooked, is this. As you can see, my wiring harness is a bit, horrible looking. I've heard of rats actually eating people's wiring harnesses when they live on properties. They actually climb in the motor because it's nice and warm, and then they start eating the wiring harness. So, yeah, if you wonder what's happened to your harness and it's got holes in it, that's usually what happens. So, okay, fair enough, you got your harness there, put a bit of tape around that, but what really happens when people wash their engines and water gets in the engine bay, all these fittings here, they get corrosion on the terminals. And by cleaning airflow meters, you can buy a special spray for that. I use carby cleaner, make sure it dries 100%, put it in the sun, blow it out with air before you connect it back up. I've had no trouble ever. But if you're a bit nervous about that, buy the proper stuff and spray it with the throttle body cleaner, and also make sure it actually dries out as well with that. And all these bits and pieces help. But anyway, I'll get back to the fittings. So you disconnect, you know, I can't get that at the moment, mate, 2 hands. See, in there and there, they get a bit dirty, so what you do, I've got this spray, alright, and can't read it, but it's actually electrical spray, makes contact. Be careful with the brushes, brush one, you're better off just spraying it on. You bend the terminal with that thing by being too rough, and you know, push it back in too fast or not straight, you can actually bend them and snap them off. So be very careful, don't be too rough on these, alright. So you spray in there, and here it go. It's better with 2 hands anyway. I'm not going to do it at the moment, but you get the idea. And it can be wet when you put it back together. It doesn't need to dry this stuff. It doesn't do any harm, never has. Disconnect the computer in here. As you can see, look, they're right in the area where you put water in your washer bottle. So you disconnect it and you put it back together and you spray it up. Anyway, I'll put this back together in a minute. So yeah, and what actually happens when you do all this and start spraying it and cleaning all the terminals up, even on the injectors, disconnect the line, even on coils, clean them up, spray them, put them back together wet, doesn't matter, it'll dry out. On the fuel rail there, on the cam angle sensor down the back, the crank angle sensor underneath, all these diffusers, the relays, this harness actually splits in about 3 places. So it comes along here and it goes into here, the box, and it plugs into all these other ones. So I've had to disconnect them and spray all them, and then it goes to here, which is another connection. It goes underneath the dash, body control module. Better to disconnect the battery too if you're going to do this. Make sure you got a radio code, alright? If you disconnect the battery, you could lose the radio. Anyway, spray all of them, clean them all up. I'm not kidding. This motor, the injector noise was phenomenal. I changed the injectors, thinking, yeah, that's going to fix the problem, because I'm a mechanic by trade. Yeah, I know when injectors are buggered, and that's exactly what they sounded like. They were noisy, they were on special at the time, so I brought brand newies. Yep, no worries. Still making a noise. This thing was so rough. I mean, it was rough. The motor looked like it was running on 3 cylinders, excuse me, and ready to jump out the engine bay. It was shocking. And these D40s are very known for idling a bit rough when they get a bit older. Anyway, make sure you put all the fittings back on properly too. All the terminals back on, push them all back on. Make sure they're all back on. Anyway, this car was lucky to do 550 kilometers per tank. And it's a 70 litre tank. I put 72 litres in the time you fill the neck. Alright, because I fill to the top. Anyway, so I turn the ignition on. There we go.
The Grand Parade outbound with the car pedestrian accident. There's around 5.5.
Okay, 9.7 litres. I never seen under 12. And that was on the freeway. I'm not kidding. Mate, sometimes it was 13. This is 9.7 anyway. It's really worked. It's shut the injectors up. It's better running. I'm running on BP. Not the normal diesel, the premium type. It's better to run 95 on the BP premium too, I recommend. I run that in my XR6 turbo. It runs perfect. Anyway, there we go. 631 kilometers. Okay, I'm up to. And 131 to go, so that's, yeah, well, 760 kilometers. So that's pretty much right, because it's a 70 litre tank. And anyway, that's how much fuel I've got to go there. Turn the headlights on. So it's just a bit under a quarter. Anyway, it'll do close to 800, because as the car's getting a bit lighter because of fuel and whatever have you, it starts to do a few more kilometers, so it's calculating still. But yeah, I'll get close to 800 kilometers for 70 litres, and that's really impressive. I'm very impressed with this car now. I've had so much trouble with it anyway. We won't even go there. But like I said, I've changed injectors and it wouldn't quieten up. Did fuel filters. It was blowing black smoke, and I could see the smoke in the headlights of a car behind me in the dark. I could see the mist. Even driving normal, I could see the mist coming out the back of the exhaust. In the day I couldn't see it, but if I had a car behind me, I could see that all popping up in their headlights. And if I gave it to it, oh, the smoke. Anyway, so I just started up. Starts first kick. Again. And that's as smooth as one of those things get, and it's got plenty of power. This thing is never gone like this, and I hardly even touch the throttle, because the reason being, I think, is because of the resistance in the wire and the connection to the injector was changing the bolts. Instead of opening at the rate it should have been opening, it was delayed, then shutting, it just shut a bit earlier because it didn't have the power there as well. The resistance was obviously doing something to the injector. And look, there's plenty of fuel saving devices out there, but honestly, you want to save fuel, get a smaller car, or buy a Vespa. You can't beat air fuel ratio. If you got that smack on, you can just cruise around with hardly any throttle at all, because it's making maximum power and torque for its RPM. This thing, I used to have to rev it to go anywhere at 3 to 3,500 RPM. I'm barely revving at 2, if that. And people believe that, you know, changing up gears and labour in the motor can save fuel. They can't. They can actually make, you know, more fuel disappear quicker. If you're actually just cruising through the gears and driving it nice and smooth, and RPM chews the fuel. That's what chews it. Revving too hard for too long. Shifting gears in the next gear and not labouring and making it go smoothly and plenty of power, which this thing has got now. But before, and just going through and making sure everything's alright, like making sure the hoses are the right way coming up to the turbo and stuff like that. All little things. Read by the book. These hoses were all back to front when I brought this car, and I've had to do heaps of stuff on it and work out. On the valve, it actually has which way the hoses go. One will say vacuum, so that's a manifold on a manifold, but not on a diesel. It's a pump, and so on. It'll have turbo. It'll go there. Inlet. It'll go to, you know, one goes there. But read up on it and find out where they go, because half the time people have been tinkering with these things, any car, and you're getting it, or you're taking it somewhere and they think they know what they're doing and they don't. And yeah, I've changed timing chains and everything in this car, and no way could I get a fuel economy I've got now. Sorry, a bit tired, done too many hours anyway. So at work. So anyway, yeah, definitely spraying and pushing them back together. If you're not too sure, get an auto electrician to do it. There's plenty of different sprays out there. You get them from anywhere, but make sure you don't bend the terminals pushing them back together or force them. And just take a lot of care with that, because they are fragile. Some are brittle because of heat. They do crack, they do break. And like this one here, when people are topping up the washer bowl, this goes down here. Look where the computer is. It's right there. They spill water and spill it all over it. And then they wash their motor and take them forward driving, and well, look, it's a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, that dirt and everything is getting into everything. So I don't recommend washing wire and harnesses either, or motors. Just, yeah, wipe them over. Leave it dusty. Just wipe it. A wet rag, whatever. But don't try to get water on these. All these plugs and that, they're very crucial. It'd be like you, as a human, like cutting a nerve going to your finger or your arm. You go, oh, it's only one wire, it's only one nerve. Yeah, right. That can cause massive problems. I was getting earth codes popping up on this thing, and so I put extra earths on it over there on the other side. But anyway, make sure your earths are right here, from the battery to the body. Make sure it's all right, and to the motor. Obviously it is, because it wouldn't crank. And even then, they can still crank and get really hot at them points. Just make sure the earths are fine. And yeah, but these earth faults were actually from connections. It wasn't actually from a bad earth in the battery, which the codes kept popping up on my computer when I put it on to find out what was going on. And when I translated it, I didn't even know what it meant. I still can't remember. But what it meant when it translated was, yeah, bad earths. And it wasn't bad earth, like I said, it was a wiring harness. So it must have had some corrosion somewhere. I don't know where, because I cleaned everything. I mean, every one of them. Especially automatics too. If you can clean them on the gearbox and fix all them up, it's going to make a massive difference. And I reset the kilometer thing on the dash, and how many litres per for every 100. I'll reset that as well. But